Morning, folks. Last night I went and unplugged the light in here, make it dark after everybody was in, and opened up the cage. Let the little man out. We'll see how he fares. Hey kids. Let the little man out. We'll see how he fares. Hey kids. Well, got a couple legs on the floor, and I'm imagining a broke one that they're cleaning up. Close it. There he is. Had an egg in there too. Okay. He's spurred on some production. Those eggs I'm not worried about. They're probably from the Buff Orpingtons. It's a good start. Well, got two anyways. Garden, we've had too much rain. I've got leaves that are starting to turn yellow. I don't know. It's the exact opposite of last summer. Well, we'll catch you a little later this weekend.
So I'm going to make some cinnamon raisin bread. And it's pretty much just a variation on my normal white bread. That's how I start out the same. I've got 2 cups of warm water. And you don't want it hot, because you don't want to kill your yeast, but you want it just slightly warm. About the temperature you'd do a baby bottle would be about the same thing. I'm adding about 4 tablespoons of honey, and I've got about 4 tablespoons of softened butter in there, more or less. I'm going to add 2 packets of yeast. A packet is 2 1/4 teaspoons, so you want 4 1/2 teaspoons of yeast. I don't buy it in the packet, I buy it in bulk, so I'm going to use, I get my honey off my spoon here. It should come off fairly easily in the warm water. And then we're going to add a teaspoon of salt. I'm going to use 2 teaspoons of honey, or excuse me, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. And we'll start out with 5 cups of bread flour. We'll probably need to add a little bit more. So we'll add in the 5 cups of bread flour.
You ain't got 5 cups in that tub.
No, there's more.
I know.
And there's 4. So you want about a cup of raisins. My raisins were getting a little dried out, so what I've got is them in just in a cup with some hot water on them, and I'll let them set a few minutes. Then you'll drain them off, and we'll add those in last. So I've got the 5 cups of flour in there. If you don't have bread flour, you can use all-purpose. And I'm just going to knead this up. You want to knead it till it's a tacky dough, just slightly sticky, like the back of a post-it note. So we'll just gradually add flour till we reach that consistency. I haven't added the raisins yet. We'll add those in last. That's about a half cup that we'll add and see what that does. So then we'll add in about another couple of tablespoons, not even a quarter cup. So I've got enough. You'll see it's clean the bottom of the bowl. It's no longer sticky. I'm going to let it knead a couple of minutes and then I'll add the raisins in. I'm just going to grease a bowl. Don't want a big bowl for the bread to rise in. This does make 2 loaves, by the way. You can have it for just, cut the recipe in half just for one. And you can use butter or oil. And I'm just using shortening because that's what's handiest. Both pans as well. So I turned the oven on, the 350, and left it on for 1.5 minutes and turned the light on. And that's just to warm it just slightly so that that's where I'll proof the dough. I'm just greasing my bread pans. A little bit of shortening again. You can use butter, you can use oil, you can use that spray stuff, whatever works for you. Just make sure you grease them well. Get the fingers sticky all at once. So the bread has kneaded a couple minutes. I'm going to add the raisins. I've drained them well. You still, if they're still pretty wet, you may need to add a little bit more flour. I'm just going to dump them in. It'll be easier if I do that. We'll knead them. Depending on, you can take this out of the bowl and knead them in by hand. Depends on how big a chunks you want your raisins in. If you want them whole, I'd recommend kneading them by hand because this will break them up a little bit, which I like. So we'll just add them in. I think I'm going to add just about a tablespoon more of flour because it's a little bit sticky. We'll see if that's enough. That's just what you want. It's just slightly tacky. It's not sticking to the bottom of the bowl. It's just the right consistency. You might get just a tiny bit stuck to you, but you shouldn't come away with any big gobs. So we're going to take this out and get it into the bowl to rise. And this will need to rise for about an hour. So here's your ball of dough. Now you can do this two ways. I do it this way. You could leave the cinnamon out, and when you're done with everything else, roll this out into a dough, just a rectangle. Sprinkle it with a little bit of cinnamon sugar and roll it up like you would a cinnamon roll. And then do it that way after it's risen and you've kneaded it down. But I just kind of knead it up now into a ball. Get that out of the way. And what you're going to do is drop it down into the bowl and flip it so that the top is greased. I'm going to cover this with some plastic wrap and a kitchen towel, and we're going to put it into that slightly warmed oven and let it rise for, I'll check it in about an hour. Now if it's warm out wherever you are, you won't need to slightly warm your oven, but it's not that warm here today, and it'll rise a little better in that warm environment. So we'll come back when it's risen enough. So the bread's risen for about an hour. It's more than doubled in size. I'm just going to punch it down. I find it easier to divide it in half and just work with each half. Now you can put this on a board and floured board and knead it that way, but I just knead it this way. Knead out the air bubbles, and you still got raisins that are good size. They're not all entirely broken up. As I said, get out your air bubbles. You're going to shape it into a loaf. Put it into your bread pan. I like to knead them over the bowl because the raisins tend to fall out from time to time, and that way I don't lose any.
Yeah.
Just knead them back in. We're going to cover these back up with plastic wrap and let them rise. I'm going to let it, I'll check them after 10 minutes. They usually rise pretty good. I'm going to put them back in the oven. You can, when you knead it, you can hear the air bubbles deflating, so you don't have big holes in your bread. Or you can, as I said, you can just put it on a board and knead with the heel of your hand. Just fold and roll, and I'll get it.
Yeah.
Just keep folding and turning until you get all your air bubbles kneaded out. And then you just shape it into a loaf. And into the bread pan. Push the raisins down in there so they don't burn. I'm going to cover it back up with plastic wrap. I'm going to put it back in the oven where it's a little warmer, and we'll check it in about 10 minutes, probably no more than 15. So it's been, about not quite 15 minutes, about 12 minutes, I guess, 12, 13 minutes. And the bread's risen more than enough. I've got the oven preheating. It's almost up to 350. 345. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stagger the bread in like this for 14 minutes, and then I pull them out, turn them around like this, and do another 14 minutes, and there we go. So it should be a total of 28 minutes. They should be good to go. So it's been 14 minutes. I'm going to rotate the breads, turn them the other way, and move them, and we'll check them again in 14. And that's the sound you want to hear. Sounds hollow. Nicely browned. Oh, smells good.
Yeah, it do.
I'll let it cool in the pan for 5 minutes, and then we'll put it out on the take it out of the pan and put it on the cooling rack and let it cool. And there's your bread. One thing I forgot to tell you, I use honey in my breads. You can substitute white sugar or even brown sugar in this recipe. You do want some sugar because it's meant to be a sweet. I recommend slicing the bread while it's warm. I recommend that you wait till it's cool, but sometimes you just gotta. There's nothing like the taste of warm bread.
Yep.
Now you can adjust the cinnamon level to your liking in this. It looks like I really should have added a little more. But with a little butter on there, it'll be good. And it'll be good toast. Babe, how's my girls? I don't have anything for you girls.
Not this trip. We're going over to the garden. We got some broccoli to harvest, and well, we got some that went to seed.
Squash doesn't look too bad.
No.
Zucchini's a little yellowish.
Yep.
Cucumber doesn't look bad. Carrots are taken off.
Good.
Really see them now. Except for where the girls dug them up.
Yep. Gonna have to fence off part of the garden.
Yeah, they dug up the end of the lettuce, sunbathing.
Yep. Lots of rain. Not good for a garden.
Well, it is, but
Not.
this one I'm going to leave and we'll let him seed. He's already started, so he's past the cutting stage. It's a little one, but it'll be tasty.
Yeah.
It's a little bigger. This one's got side shoots forming already.
Yeah. Go find tomato worms.
Chocolate ice cream. This makes just under 2 quarts. So I've got a cup and a half of sugar in there and about a 1/3 cup of cocoa. I didn't measure it really, I just kind of guesstimated. You can add more, you can add up to a 1/2 cup depending on how dark you want it. I'm going to add 4 eggs, a tablespoon of vanilla, probably a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and then we'll start adding the liquid stuff. I've beaten the 4 eggs. I'm going to add the vanilla. Again, I don't measure much, so close to a tablespoon. Homemade vanilla. We'll mix that in, and then I'm going to add, smells good, going to add in 1.5 cups of whole milk and 3 cups of half and half. Now this uses raw eggs. If you don't like to use raw eggs, you can cook this mixture. Leave the eggs out, bring the other mixture up to just not quite a simmer. Temper your eggs with it, add the eggs in, and cook it till it starts to thicken, and then chill it overnight, and then you can freeze it. But my eggs are free range. I know what they've eaten, I know where they've been. I have no problem using raw eggs.
Nope.
So I'm gonna use a whisk here to beat in my liquids. Make sure I got everything off the spoon. Some lumps of cocoa on there still. Get all the lumps off.
I love being the assistant in these. I get to lick off the spoons.
I'll add a little bit to get it mixed in. Thin the mixture down a little bit. Now if you want, at this point, you can add, I would do a couple of big spoonfuls of peanut butter if you wanted to make this a chocolate peanut butter. That's also very tasty. Any of your add-ins, you want to wait till your mixture is almost completely frozen. Now this won't freeze it solid. It will be a soft serve. And then you have to put it in the freezer to finish hardening, but it'll get it to a good soft serve. So that was 1.5 cups of milk. I gotta add the 3 cups of heavy cream. And we'll beat in the 3 cups. Now the insert to my little machine here has been in the freezer for quite a while. So it should be frozen solid, and you can put this in the fridge and let it sit for a couple hours, or you can do what I'm doing, and we're just gonna go right ahead and freeze it. I got a few little lumps of cocoa in there. I didn't sift my cocoa this time, so they'll pretty much break down here.
It don't really matter.
You just want to make sure that everything's well mixed. Shove a couple of the bigger ones. This is a Cuisinart 2-quart, and it works well as long as your insert is well frozen. And this may not hold quite all of it. It's gonna on, and
Plugged in.
And it only has an on-off switch. And now the bowl turns and the little paddle holds still, so it just kind of rotates. And this is going to take about a half an hour to churn. It's starting to thicken slightly. I don't know if you can see. few minutes. So we're about halfway there. So it's been about 30 minutes, and this probably isn't going to get much thicker in here than this. So I'm going to stop it. We'll put it into my freezer container and we'll put it in the freezer to harden up. So we'll turn that off, lift the lid, take the paddle out. Yep, you get to clean the paddle. And we'll put it into the container in just a second. So you want a freezer-proof container, and what I do is I stick this in the freezer ahead of time so that it's cold when I'm adding the ice cream to it. And you want to stick this in the coldest part of your freezer, and it'll take a good couple hours or longer. Sometimes it'll take even overnight for it's solid, but it will freeze solid. But then again, you can eat it at any time.
Yep. I get to clean up the mess.
Maybe. Okay. That's it. I just kind of level it out a little bit, and in the freezer it'll go. Don't know.
Little problem here at the homestead. Old Bertha. Well, she's gimping around.
She's a resilient bird, though.
Yep. Thinking about isolating her. Still debating it.
She's survived 2 brushes with death. We'll see.
And of course we have the porch sitters. The dirt bathers. And the others. Ooh.
Kids are all over here.
Some of them, yep.
Most of them.
No.
There's only a couple down there. I don't see the little man anymore. He's out and out.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're going to call this good. Later, Al.